Strings. We are featuring two Czech very talented young artists, Jakub Trasak and Jiri Nedoma. We are celebrating 100 years of the Czech independence, and from now on, thanks to the Kennedy Center and Millennium stage, until the end of the year, every month you will have the opportunity to see the young talented Czech musicians. So I hope you will enjoy it, and please welcome Jakub Trasak and Jiri Nedoma.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really wonderful to be here. When you hear the word violin and piano, you might think a lot about a classical music, but we will explore together much more than that. As you heard from the first song, we are jazzers at heart. We like to take well-known songs and melodies and sort of make them our own. So this won't be a classical show at all. If you will feel like your feet will be tapping along to the rhythm a little bit, you can let it go. That's totally fine. If you will feel like clapping after a solo that you might enjoy, or clapping along with the song, that's fine as well. In some previous shows, people were even dancing in the aisles. I'm not sure if it will happen here tonight, but I think you can groove it a little bit in the chair. And this next selection might help you because it's from Stevie Wonder and it's called Sir Duke. Here we go. A little bit more piano, please. 3, 4. Jiri Nedoma. Nice. Thank you. Now we're grooving away a little bit. We both grew up in Prague, in the Czech Republic. Has anybody been to Prague? Few of you. Good. Is anybody from Czech Republic over here? Yes. 3.5 people, strong supporters. Thanks for flying in from the Czech Republic to see the show. Fantastic. So to those of you who live there or visited, you probably agree with me that there is not a lot of bluegrass and country music going on. Quite the opposite. But that's exactly what I grew up playing. Jiri grew up playing classical music, then switched to jazz. For a long time, I stick to the bluegrass and country music. So I will play for you one of my favorites. You might recognize it from the Ken Burns Civil War documentary. This is Ashokan Farewell. Thank you. So now you might be asking, does he play a violin or does he play a fiddle? So I can clarify that a little bit. This beautiful instrument, when it is set up like this, with 4 strings, played with a stick with a little bit of a horsehair on it, it's called violin. When you play bluegrass, folk, Irish, Scottish music on the same instrument, it's called the fiddle. But that's not the only instrument I brought here with me today. You cannot stop the evolution, so this is the new take on the violin. And it's an electric violin, and the function of it is you can play this in a really, really intense, loud environment. It works a little bit like an electric guitar, meaning when it is not plugged in, there is not much coming out. But you will give it a little bit of a juice. We can have cool sounds. So I like to use this instrument to play contemporary music. So you might recognize this one. It did quite well a few years ago by Coldplay. Here is Viva La Vida. Thank you. Nice. That's good. You're enthusiastic there. I appreciate it. So the future of electric violin, we're in a good spot here. That's good. But on the other hand, I understand this is not for everybody, right? If you came here to listen to a little bit of a classical music, we have prepared this one specially for you. I need to make sure. Okay. This one you might recognize. It was composed by Monty. Here is Chardash. you. I moved to Boston in fall 2007 to study at Berklee College of Music. And I vividly remember my first day in school. It was crazy hot and humid, classic Boston. And I was sitting in an auditorium with about 1,000 super talented musicians from all around the world who came, who were hungry to study and to play with each other. And the ceremony was quite long. It was about 3 hours. And in the middle of it, the person who was leading it, he was like, well, why don't you take a 10-minute stretch break and try to meet and greet people who are around here so you make new connections. Oh, and let's make a fun little game. Let's see if you can find people from your own countries. And I'm like, in my mind, the probability is basically next to nothing. It's very low teens of people who came to Berklee and graduated. But I stepped outside of the aisle, stretched a little bit, and I saw a tall gentleman in glasses. So I approached him and I said, hi, my name is Jakub. I play violin. I'm from the Czech Republic. And he said, hi, my name is Jiri. I play the piano. And I'm from the Czech Republic as well. And that was the very first moment that we have met, and was a beginning of a crazy journey and friendship. And throughout the time, we have figured out that we studied at the same conservatory back home, Conservatory of Jaroslav Ježek. That was named after a very progressive composer from the 30s and 40s. He was very inspired by the old swing, jazz, and blues music that was played over here in the US during that period of time. And he wrote some very cool pieces, and Jiri will right now perform for you his most famous solo piano piece. It is virtuosic foxtrot. The foxtrot, the dance, so it's virtuosic, a little crazy. And the name of it is Bugatti Step, the car Bugatti that everybody wants right now, the super fast. So it was inspired, the song was inspired by a race car that Jaroslav saw in 1931. He's like, man, this is awesome. I want to compose a song like that and make the piano sound like the engine. So you're in for a little treat and for a little drive because Jiri is in charge, and here is the Bugatti Step. Beautiful. Good times, good times. Bugatti step, beautiful. But Jaroslav didn't compose just unplayable piano pieces. He also composed songs for theater, for orchestra. Although despite of his very serious eye condition, he was basically blind. He could just see in the shades of a blue, whether it was lighter or a darker. And it was beginning of 30s, and they had a session together with his creative partner, Boskovec and Verich, and they were just sitting around, and this song came together that was his personal view of the world. It's called Tmavo-modrý svět in Czech. For those of you who don't speak Czech, it will be the dark blue world. So we will play it as a second song. The first song will be Hat in the Bush. That's the translation of it. And you can just see how the inspiration of the early swing and jazz music was in his style of writing. So here they are. Thank you. So we have a chance to travel more and more around the world, and it's always fun to pick up pieces from the countries where I visit. So recently I was in Ireland. I got inspired by the Irish music, and I'm like, well, what is a Irish flavored song that people might know that would have a good drive and would be good for the setting? And I came up with Shipping Up to Boston from Dropkick Murphys. So we will ship together up to Boston in this arrangement. Shipping up to Boston. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sometimes it is fun to take songs and from the contemporary, like very top 40 spectrum of the music and play them as the instrumental, because the lyrics, all the song titles can be very offensive, but they can be very groovy and we can still enjoy them, so sometimes we do it. And that's the case of the following song. The way how we have discovered it, we were many, many years ago on a party together with Jiri. We both had our instruments. And the host was like, "Oh, I love CeeLo Green. Can you play something from CeeLo Green?" And we came up with the grooviest song that we knew together, and it has a very awesome name. So they rebranded it afterwards, so this will be the rebranded version. I hope still funky and groovy. This is Forget You. Grooving hard, good. Monday. Nice. Thank you. Fantastic. So in the beginning of the show, I played for you a Ashokan Farewell, which is coming from the bluegrass folk background. When you play bluegrass or country violin, there are really two songs that you have to know. The first one is The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Some of you know it. It's a good one, classic. And the second one is called the Orange Blossom Special. That lady knows it. This one will be for you then. And for those of you who don't know the song, it basically requires the violin player to tell a story of a train or about a train. He's supposed to emulate all the wheel spins, sound noises that are around the machine or maybe around in the environment. And depending on the violin player, sometimes the train goes slow, sometimes it goes faster, sometimes it slows down, speeds up. That all depends on the creative input. So that will be Orange Blossom Special, and that will also be the last song of our performance. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for having us. It's been truly our pleasure. We will be just outside hanging out. If you feel like coming along, saying hi, we would love to see you. And this will be great. And it was, one last thing, it was fantastic to perform here in 2018 because Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, and Slovakia right now, we were merged at one point, and the country was established in 1918. So we would be celebrating 100 years together, especially in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Like the country was really awesome, doing some incredible things. So it is a privilege to be here, to be supported by Washington. And here is Orange Blossom Special. Okay, we have 4.5 minutes, so we have to speed it up a little bit. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Jiri Nedoma. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. One more? We have time, we have time. Thank you, you're very sweet, very sweet, very sweet. Really appreciate it. Just want to look at the directors if we are in the window of opportunity to squeeze one more beautiful song. And I think we are. Thank you. Thank you very much.